If you've ever wondered why an easy task is so incredibly difficult for your child, this podcast is for you.
This is The Evolved Brain. I'm Lara. In an AI-shaped world, ADHD is a design, not a deficit. Where science meets soul, a new paradigm of parenting begins. The future belongs to evolved minds. We raise them.
I'm so excited to introduce you to the author of Overcoming the Wall of Awful, Brendan Mahan. Welcome, Brendan. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.
I heard you like cookies.
I do. Yeah, they're
So
delicious.
I baked you these.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And if you're wondering, you'll have to read Brendan's book, Overcoming the Wall of Awful, and you'll find out what that joke means about the cookies.
Actually, I play with that a little bit? Is that
Yes,
okay?
please.
So part of the joke is I mention cookies a lot in the book.
Mhm.
Um, but secretly, and I can't commit to this yet because I haven't read the final version of the book because I only have like an advanced copy. And I want to make sure that I'm right with the final version when it comes out in September. So I'll know in like August, probably late August. But my co-writer, Alex Hughes Capel, as we were sort of going through the book, was like, "You talk about cookies a lot in this book." And so the book has illustrations in it. There's acronyms and stuff. We wanted to have a way to remember them. So each acronym has its own mascot. We were doing art anyway. There's stuff with emotions in there and anxiety. There's a decent amount of artwork. And so since we're doing artwork anyway, she was like, we should do like a little cookie emoji type thing for every time you mention cookies. And I was like, you know what we should do is we should do a cookie emoji every time I mention a cookie, except once. So with any luck, there's one page in there where I mention cookies, but there is no picture. And the plan is once I confirm that this is what happened, because it was sort of out of my hands eventually. Um, assuming that I'm right and that's what happened, the plan is to run a contest for the first however many people who can tell me what page that is. Probably it's going to be a T-shirt that says "I climbed my wall of awful and all I got was this lousy T-shirt." But I haven't totally decided on what that'll be. I have like ADHD books and stuff that I could also be giving away. I have choices. Probably it'll be the T-shirt, but that's going to limit me to budget, right? Like how much money can I spend on T-shirts? That'll be how many I can give away. But yeah, so there's actually like a method to that cookie madness, assuming
Oh,
it
I
worked.
love it. I love it. And when I saw it, I luckily was able to read your book ahead of time, which I feel
Yeah,
very honored and privileged. But when I saw the mention of the cookie and that there's a scavenger hunt, like my brain was lighting up. Like at the
that's the scavenger hunt. Yeah.
yeah, so at the beginning of the book, you said that you wrote the book with a neurodivergent mind in mind, and
Mhm.
that scavenger hunt, like ADHD brains, like love that competition, that excitement, that novelty,
Yep.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it fun, right? There's a workbook coming too, in February. So the Overcoming the Wall of Awful comes out September 1st, and then I believe it's February 2nd, the workbook for Overcoming the Wall of Awful will come out. So there's also that like competition wanting to do stuff, wanting to interact a little bit more, that's gonna be available eventually too.
Awesome. So you were a teacher and a principal, so
Mhm.
you understand obviously how that interaction through a workbook can really complement and improve our learning and deepen our learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helped me in making the workbook because I know how to make worksheets that are useful. So
And did you record like the audio version of the book too, or is that
I
coming?
did. Yeah, yeah, that'll come out September 1st as well. And I think it took me like 4 days to record the whole book. And it was just
Awesome.
like reading out loud for hours and hours and hours.
Awesome. And I find that so exciting when the author actually reads their book. So I end up buying the audio version and the paper version because I like to
Oh,
hear the
cool.
author's voice and I like to have it
Yeah,
in my hands. So
yeah. And and because of the podcast, like I think people would expect me to do the audiobook, right? I do enough summits and I have my own podcast, I'm on other people's. I think people would have been disappointed if we had someone roll in and record it for me. So I was really glad when they let me do it.
I'm so excited about your book, and some of our listeners may not be familiar, and some
Hmm.
of our listeners may also be thinking, well, I've seen your videos like on how to ADHD about the wall of awful, but your book, Overcoming the Wall of Awful, there's so much more in that. So maybe let's start with, for those listeners who are new to you, what is the wall of awful, and then we can get into a bit of the overcoming and how the book deepens what's already out there on the videos.
Yeah, so I'll explain the wall of awful quick because I never know how many people already know about it and how many people don't, and I don't want to
Okay.
bore people who are like, I already know. So I'm gonna hit it kind of quick, and then we can play from there. The wall of awful is the emotional barrier that gets formed when we struggle with stuff, right? So it could be a struggle that leads to failure. It could just be this thing is difficult for me for whatever reason. And as we struggle, we're going to feel some kind of way about that struggle, and it's probably not going to be good, right? So these emotions that we're feeling, they don't totally vanish, right? Like when I go to do that thing again, the emotions come back. It's not like I'm coming to that thing brand new every time. I have a memory of how it made me feel before, so that emotion is coming. It's like preloaded, right? Those are the bricks in the wall of awful. It can be guilt, it can be shame, it can be overwhelm, it can be disappointment, it can be rejection. There's all sorts of emotions that are going to come up. And in order to engage with that task, I have to first get past this wall of negative emotions, this wall of emotions that are slowing me down or maybe even repelling me and pushing me away from this task. I have to get past that, and then I can engage with the task itself. And that starts forming as young as like third or fourth grade, and it can be even younger than that. So if you've got a kid that like they have to do homework and they don't seem to jump into it right away, that doesn't mean they're not doing work. They're just the work they're doing is internal and it's emotional, and we can help get them past that. We can help guide them through, but it's taken a little bit of energy from them and it's taken some time. And then when they have to then do the task next, that's also hard as a kid, right? It's like, I don't know, I already feel tired, but I haven't done any math yet or written the essay at all or thought about it even necessarily, but I guess I still have to do that thing. And now there's some resistance in doing the thing that isn't even the wall of awful. It's just I feel tired, but we still have to do the thing.
And this is so important for parents to know because from the outside, we can see our kid just sitting there, maybe not doing their work.
Hmm.
And we need to realize what's going on for them internally.
Right.
And
Yeah.
this is like the concept of the evolved brain. We want to support the disability. We want to
Hmm.
support what's going on internally, reduce those challenges so that they can access their higher level thinking skills. And if they're sitting there in front of their homework feeling ashamed because they failed their last two math tests, so why should they even bother? That's a really hard place for
Yeah.
them to start from.
Yeah. And I should add, it's not just kids that have walls of awful, right? It stays with us. So adults have walls of awful too, and they can form it up at any time. So it's entirely possible that there's parents listening who have walls of awful for helping their kids do their homework, right? Like
Hmm.
that could be here too. And that means we're going to have some sort of emotional response to my kid having to do their homework, just like they're having an emotional response to the homework.
Absolutely. And so that's really important too for parents to know because we've got our own wall of awful, our kids have their wall of awful, and their wall of awful can be triggering our wall of
Right.
awful.
Right.
So how
And
do we
we have to
over
balance ourselves.
Yes.
It's unfortunately it's our job to be emotionally regulated, right? Like we have to know how to do that. And I know you talk about that with your audience all the time. But that's our job, right? We have to be, if our kid is in a storm, we have to be the rock that they can cling to and feel safe, or the tree or whatever, right? We have to be the safe place. And that means we have to be safe. I can't help my kid feel safe if I'm not safe for them. So I have to get myself regulated and myself squared away. And that might mean I have to take a couple minutes to myself before I try to get my kid to do their homework. That might mean I see my kids sit down at the kitchen table to do their homework and I'm like, oh, just do it. And I'm like, oh, nope, that's not a thing. I shouldn't jump on them. Let me go take a walk or whatever and come back when I'm squared away and able to have this conversation in a healthier manner.
I've watched your videos. How's the
Mhm.
book different than the videos?
I expand on everything. So when it comes to getting past the wall of awful, right, there's five ways to do it. We can stare at the wall, we can go around the wall. Those two don't work because I'm not really doing engaging with the wall. We can smash, right? I can get angry, I can get frustrated and try to push my way through the wall. I can put a door on the wall, which is changing my emotional state so that I can temporarily get past it, or I can climb it, which is dealing with the emotions in the wall, confronting them, accepting them, that kind of stuff. So that's about as much time as I spent in the videos, right? That maybe 5 more minutes of that, maybe, of me expanding on stuff. Each of those has its own chapter in the book, so significantly more, with the exception of the two that don't work, because I'm not wasting a whole chapter on two things that don't work. Those get squished together in the same chapter. As I've come to think about the wall more, I've decided that the mortar that holds the bricks together is anxiety. Like that's what's keeping all these bricks in the wall. The second chapter of the book is all about anxiety. That's the whole thing. And it was a relatively late ad. We were playing with anxiety the whole time, and at some point I was just like, it needs its own chapter. We have to set this up better. So the book is designed to as a guide, right? The first part is foundational. So chapter 1 is what is the wall of awful. Chapter 2 is anxiety, and then chapter 3 is skills and resources. Anxiety is the problem, right? We've defined the problem. What do we do about it? Skills and resources are how we solve all the problems. That's just it, broadly speaking, you're solving problems with skills and resources. It doesn't mean we're solving every problem because I might choose not to solve that problem. I might not have the right skills or resources or combination of skills and resources to solve that problem. But if I'm going to solve a problem, those are the things I need to do it. So that's part 1, is just sort of the basics. Part 2 is getting past the wall, right? So chapter 4 is staring at it and going around it. Chapter 5 is smash. Chapter 6 is putting a door in it. And chapter 7 is climbing. All of that stuff expands way beyond the videos. And then the last part of the book, part 3, is even higher level than all the stuff I just talked about. It's intended to kind of tie it all together. So chapter 8 is change and how change works. It drives me crazy that there's so many books out there that are like clearly intended to help people make a change in their lives, but don't say anything about how change works and what to expect when you're trying to make a change. So that chapter is all about change, and heavily it plays with the idea that you're gonna mess up. I'm trying to give people permission to try to change and not do it right and try again, because that's the nature of change. Is when we're changing, we are by default doing something new, which means we're learning, which means we're gonna mess up. And I just want people to have permission to fail and get back up and try again, because that keeps bricks out of our wall, right? If I try to change and I beat myself up about it, I'm just adding bricks to my wall of awful for that change. But if I go, oh no, this is expected, it's okay that I messed this up, let me try again, I might not get any bricks in my wall, and that's going to make it easier to make that change. So that's the objective with chapter 8. Chapter 9 is systems and structures and habits and that kind of stuff, the things that a lot of ADHD people really want. Um, it's not necessarily like specifically this is how you make a morning routine. It's more conceptual. Like this is what a change, or I'm sorry, this is what a system is. This is what a habit is. This is how we put habits together to create systems. This is how to make a system successful or why it might be unsuccessful. So I'm not designing a morning routine or a bedtime routine with somebody. I'm just talking broadly about what they are with examples, of course. But so that they can then take those pieces and apply them to their lives as appropriate. Because I don't know what anyone's specific problems are. I can guess, but I don't know for sure. And then the end of it is planning, because that's what we have to do, right? Planning is the way we get things accomplished. And it's both puts a door in the wall and helps you climb it, right? The act of planning is climbing the wall. I'm thinking about this thing and I'm dealing with the emotions that it causes, and I'm accepting that I have to do it, and I'm accepting the emotions. I'm figuring out how to solve this problem in advance and all that stuff. There's emotional work in there and cognitive work. And then once I have the plan, that can just put a door in my wall. Because if I'm like, oh, I have to do this thing, but it feels overwhelming. Oh, wait, I have a plan. Oh, so the barrier to entry for this is much smaller and it feels easier to do. And now I can just go ahead and do it. That's why planning matters. It's putting a door in the wall and climbing it at the same time. Um, I have a friend of mine she's got like a master's in psychology. She's unbelievably gifted, former English teacher, so a master in education as well. Um, And she was one of my beta readers. And she said, "This is the most thorough explanation of how to plan that I've ever read." And like she taught, and teachers get taught how to plan and how to do that in a way that not everybody does. So I was really honored when she said that chapter 10 was the most thorough explanation of how to make a plan she'd ever read. But yeah, so that's nutshelled kind of the book. And the ways that like the door and climbing get expanded really amount to what are we doing here, right? Like the when we want to put a door on our wall, we're trying to soothe our anxiety, kind of calm ourselves down, and then activate, right? Like if or maybe just activate, depending on where I am emotionally. If I'm sort of okay, I'm not totally overwhelmed by these emotions. I'm just like, yuck, I don't want to deal with it. Now I need to activate. But if I'm overwhelmed by these emotions, I might need to soothe the overwhelm, soothe that anxiety response, and then activate. Um, and then climbing we break into passive climbing and active climbing. So one is sort of happening in the background, the other one is intentional. And we can play with as much or as little of that as you would like.
Mhm. I loved reading through your book, and it felt like you were right there, like holding my hand, explaining things, encouraging, giving the steps. Like, and the anxiety part at the beginning, I was really excited to read about because for me, I often think that that piece is missed when we talk about ADHD. Those kids who are defiant and acting out and really angry, we often look at those behaviors, which is really the tip of the iceberg. But if you get to underneath it, there's often anxiety and fear and worry and shame and, the bricks in the
Yeah.
wall. So understanding that piece is really important.
Yeah, and that's smash, right? That's what you're describing is smashing through the wall of awful. The smashing, going around it and putting a door in it are fight, flight, and freeze.
Hmm.
That's what we're playing with. And some of our kids just shut down with overwhelm and they just sit there and don't do anything and they're staring at the wall, right?
Hmm.
They're frozen. Other kids are trying to do something else, but first, can I? Yeah, but let me have a snack first. My friends want to go play. Can I go? I'm just in my room hiding or whatever, right? That's flight. That's going around the wall. But then there's the kids that argue and push back and they're fighting. It's the fight response. They're smashing through the wall. And when we use anger to activate, which is what fight is, it's the first one that gets us past the wall. There's damage. If I'm angry with me, if I'm letting frustration do it or anxiety, I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why do I suck? Why can't I just do this? I'm damaging my self-esteem, whether mom and dad know it or not, because
Hmm.
this happens inside. Or if I'm fighting and arguing back with mom and dad, now I'm damaging that relationship, right? When we smash, there's debris and shrapnel that comes flying off the wall and it hits people. So that's why we want to teach our kids about the wall of awful, what it is, how it works, and the ways we get past it. All of them, because they're going to fight sometimes. We're going to smash, and we want to be able to have a conversation about that in a healthy way. Hey, like you've been smashing a lot lately. Can we come up with a way to put a door in it, come up with a way to climb it?
Mhm. The other part that I really love is how you talk about it's okay to make mistakes.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like so many kids with ADHD especially are feeling very sensitive to criticism and rejection.
Yep.
They take those mistakes and it weighs really heavy on them. But not only the kids, so many of the moms that I coach will often say like they feel like they're failing as a parent.
Hmm.
And it's loaded with guilt and shame and hurt. And that it can keep them stuck because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Now they're just like they just feel like a failure. So you giving the permission to change and grow and make mistakes. Can you give us a little bit more
Yeah.
about
Yeah. So like you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna mess up, and that's okay. That doesn't make you a failure as a parent,
or a
right?
terrible
Like you're
mom?
or a terrible mom or a
Hmm.
terrible dad or anything, right? You made mistakes. Maybe you didn't know well enough. That could be. My kid developed obsessive compulsive disorder to the point that he was hospitalized for 3 months, right? And I'm not talking out of school. episode 250 of my podcast, which posted like forever ago, like four or 5 years ago, um, is my family and I sitting on the couch talking about Nate's OCD. So, and it was his idea. It wasn't my idea. I would never ask him to do that. But I didn't know how to do that. Like the universe was like, Brendan, you've got those ADHD letters nailed. How about these other letters, right? Like let's throw this, make a little alphabet soup here. Um, and the ADHD strategies that I knew were terrible strategies for anxiety. So I did it wrong initially because I was trying to make it easier, right? With ADHD, a lot of the go-to ADHD strategies are like, why are you doing it the hard way? Just do it the easy way. Like just make that, maybe that thing doesn't even have to happen, like, right? But with anxiety, if you avoid stuff, the anxiety goes, oh yeah, because that's too hard. You're right to not do that. I'm keeping you safe. And the anxiety gets bigger. So my strategy of like, yeah, well, you don't need to do that. Like we can figure that out some other way, just made his anxiety stronger. And I had to learn new approaches. And I had to learn the middle, right? Because the other thing that doesn't work is just do that anyway, right? Because that's a recipe for destroying your relationship with your kid. And I'm not fighting with my kid. I'm fighting with his OCD, but he's totally bought into the OCD's plan at the time. So I knew I couldn't do that, but I also learned that I couldn't just be too permissive. I had to like find the middle ground. Um, and eventually we got there, but I made mistakes and didn't do it right and like yelled at my kid more than I've ever yelled at anybody. And I don't yell because I was in my amygdala. I was full survival mode and fight, flight, or freeze. And asking him to do stuff that 6 months earlier he could have done, and now he can't. And they're like, what do I do? Right. And there's a lot of fear and terror wrapped up in my kid is washing his hands for 40 minutes and crying the whole time because he doesn't want to. My kid's been in the shower for 2 hours. What do I do? Right. Like that's what parents are experiencing. And it doesn't have to be in the form of OCD. It can happen with ADHD. It can happen with autism. It can happen with all kinds of stuff. And that's parental anxiety. And when you're thinking I failed as a parent, that's your anxiety talking. In the book, we have this model called Erpu and Kaka they have mascots, like I said. Erpu is a slime monster, Kaka is a crow. And it's this model that I developed around anxiety, where uncertainty, rejection, powerlessness, and uncomfortableness increase anxiety. When my kid is struggling, I am uncertain. I feel powerless, right? When my kid, when I ask my kid to do something and they get upset, some of what's happening there is they feel rejected. They feel like they're not good enough. So their anxiety is going up because they're feeling rejected. They feel that connection but getting broken, right? Or what I'm asking them to do is sensorially not great. They don't like washing the dishes because they're squishy. Or they don't like eating tomatoes because have a weird sensory thing in their mouth. One of my kids doesn't like hamburgers because he doesn't like the sensory feeling of hamburgers. Uncomfortableness, right? So we have to help manage that. And on the other side of ERPU is Kaka, which is certainty, connection, agency, and well-being. And those dials are tricky because when I'm a parent, I'm constantly trying to turn my kids' dials up towards certainty, connection, agency, and well-being. But sometimes that means I'm turning my dials down, right? If I want my kid to have agency, that means I need to let them do stuff, which means I'm living at least with uncertainty. Like, are they going to be able to do this or not? I don't know. How's that going to go? So it's you're being a parent is just a recipe for anxiety, and we're just going to have it. It's just going to be there. And when our kids are frustrated or stuck with something, then their anxiety is going to come up, and we're going to catch that anxiety, and now we're off to the races.
Okay, this is so brilliant. I feel like diving right back into that book. And it comes out September the 1st.
Yeah, yeah.
And the audiobook comes out September the 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
And we can pre-order right now.
Yeah, if you go to wallofawful.com, the pre-order is there. I am not self-published. I'm traditionally published.
Awesome.
I'm published by Balance Hachette. It's one of the top 5 publishers in the world. So like big deal. They're a European place. And so it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It'll be in your local bookstores. The book was mentioned in Publishers Weekly like last week or something for their picks for the fall. Um,
Amazing.
and I want to just add Alex Hughes Capel, who I know I mentioned, who I wrote the book with. This book is a better book because she worked with me, because I was able to find her. She is a professional writer. So like I can write. I was an English teacher. I can write, totally can write. But a book is a different animal. It's a different than like an essay or a narrative, like a few narrative paragraphs or whatever. So having her on board structurally helped the book immeasurably. But also, there were lots of times where I had this stuff fleshed out and totally thought through, but I didn't do a good job of explaining the foundational stuff that got me to where I was. And she was able to say, like, Brendan, we need to back up and find those foundational pieces so that the reader can catch up to where you are. And that is amazing, right? She's incredibly insightful. She's incredibly intelligent. She has a wide depth of knowledge, including around mental health. Every interview I do, I make sure that I want to call her out and give her credit for the work that she did with me. We're going to keep working together for hopefully years and years to come because it's a great working relationship.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. And I love how you shared about the alphabet soup because we know ADHD does not travel alone. It often
Right.
has other things. And yes, anxiety, the way you worded about the anxiety in parenting, when you become a parent, anxiety is a part of it. So we do need
Hmm.
to learn how to cope with it and overcome our
Yeah.
anxiety.
And you're not done, right? Like I assume that the parents listening have younger kids.
Mhm.
Like maybe their kids are in high school, but once your kids are in college, like you're kind of like, I don't really need the parenting stuff anymore. So they're probably not listening. Those are the older kids. Um, you're not done, right? Even if your kids are older. Like my dad is in his 70s. I'm 49. He's still my dad. He still parents me. He helped me
Yes.
get this book done because I had to hire Alex and I didn't have enough money to do that. And my dad swooped in and was like, sure thing. It was hard to ask him for the money, but I did and he agreed. Um, and him being proud of me as I do this book helps inform the book, right? Like Alex and I had a real conversation about, do we just self-publish or do we try for traditional publishing? It's hard to get traditionally published. And I
Yes.
was like, she had a good case that I'd probably be fine self-publishing. I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, you helped fund this book. What do you think I should do? And his answer was, I want to see your book in a bookstore. And I was like, okie dokie, then we're going to try for traditional publishing. It worked. Um, but yes, like your parents listening, it's not about fourth grade or eighth grade or 10th grade. It's about raising a healthy, well-adjusted 26-year-old. And it's not even about raising a healthy, well-adjusted 26-year-old. It's about raising a good person, whether they're 26 or 46. You still have time. You're not a failure.
Mm. Yes, you're raising that human being and they're raising you because
Hmm.
honestly, if my kids didn't have the challenges that they had or that they're still having, I wouldn't be learning and growing and evolving the way I am now. Like they're my greatest teachers
Right.
as much as I teach them. Um, and
And that chapter on anxiety, Nate taught me more about anxiety than any grad class or YouTube channel or
mhm.
book was ever going to teach me.
Yeah. 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 Our kids are our greatest teachers. My
Hmm.
oldest is now 18, so legally an adult. And so I
Yep.
love how you talk about like you're always a parent. You are always a
Yeah.
parent. It just changes. Your parenting
Hmm.
changes. And that's why that part that you wrote about change is really important because we need to change as our kids grow and as their needs grow and as our parenting uh responsibilities
Yeah.
change, right?
And you've got to learn, and you learn from your kids, right? Just like you said, like Gavin's forever teaching me stuff and forever giving me these little moments. Nate too. It's just the nature of being a parent, right? Like Gavin Gav's more on the autism side of things. So Nate's kind of OCD and ADHD. Gavin is OCD and autism. His a much gentler touch of OCD than Nate, and a fairly gentle touch of autism as well. But we communicate differently, right? Like Gavin's a little more closed off and less emotionally sort of demonstrative. I'm a very, in case you can't tell, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Like the enthusiasm and the excitement that comes out when I'm on these things, the like frustration and sadness exist too, and those happen as well. I do a better job of like those are handled better. I don't really have to worry about regulating the enthusiasm. That's fine. But if I'm frustrated, like that's like, okay, let me keep that in check. But even that, I try to pay attention because I'm like, all right, how much of Gavin's everything is in check is because he sees me keeping my frustration in check. Do I have to be a little more communicative about my frustration so he can be a little more broadly communicative about things in general? I try to pay attention to that stuff. That's important.
And I think you just answered my final question, which is how has your child or your children evolved you? And what's one final message that you would like to leave parents with?
Yeah, like I think I mostly answered the how have they evolved me, right? Even just like they have this band they like called AJR that I learned. We went to see the concert last year. I never would have found that band if I didn't have my kids. I was
Mhm.
walking in the woods and listening to AJR yesterday without them. They were at home. Um, so even my tastes have been adjusted a little bit. Um, and in terms of what to leave the audience with, one, wallofawful.com, like go check out the book. I think it'll help. I think it'll be a useful tool. Whether you go with audio or written, I don't care. It'll be
Or
like an
both.
it'll be an ebook version too. And I don't have it called up, so I can't recite it from memory or read it off my screen. But the beginning of the audiobook, I go on a little bit of a rant about how listening is reading and it counts. And
Mm,
don't let
mm,
anyone tell you that you're not reading just because you're doing an audiobook. Because I feel pretty strongly about that. But yeah, so
mhm.
hit up wallofawful.com, pick the version you like best. And then for for the parenting side of all of this, just remember that you're allowed to mess up and you're allowed to struggle as a parent or as just a person, and you're not done. And not in a bad
Mhm.
way, not in like you haven't accomplished what you need to accomplish, but just in terms of you're still around. So keep moving forward and pick yourself up when you fall down, right? Like,
Mm.
what is it? Down five times, up six, or down six, up seven, or something. I forget how exactly what the
Six,
numbers are.
seven.
Is it six, seven? Yeah.
I don't
Um,
know.
but that matters, right? Like just you get back up, keep going. You're allowed to mess up. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means you
Mm.
messed up for a second.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will your book be in the Canadian bookstores?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right now, it should be in the US and Canada and England.
Amazing. I'm so proud of you. I'm so
Thank you.
excited and so proud of you. And I can't wait to have the hard copy of the book and listen to your voice reading. I don't have a
Yeah.
glass to cheers you with, but I have a cookie.
Sure.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Celebrating you. And thank you, parents, for
Yay.
listening. We'll catch you on the next episode. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes. You're growing and evolving every day. And this book, Overcoming the Wall of Awful, will help you in that evolution.
The future belongs to evolved minds, and we are raising them.